Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're going to dive straight into that deeply exhausted feeling you know all too well. You know the one. You wake up at 6 in the morning, but your mind is already completely drained before your feet even hit the floor. It genuinely feels like you're running this endless race and there's absolutely no finish line in sight.
It's a real paradox, isn't it? I mean, you got the promotion, but it didn't bring that peace of mind you expected. You've got the impressive titles, the fat paycheck, yet you still feel totally stuck. You're trapped in this cycle of comparison that just never ends, making every day feel like a performance for a crowd that honestly couldn't care less. And you're left wondering, why are some people just effortlessly gliding toward wealth while you're struggling? Why does the math look so beautiful on paper, but your actual life feels entirely out of balance?
Well, to solve this massive disconnect, we're going to explore the core insights from Morgan House's brilliant book, The Psychology of Money. And what we're going to discover here is a real game changer. Financial success is rarely about what you know in your head. It's almost entirely about how you choose to behave. It's a soft skill, one that's completely overlooked in every modern classroom, but we're going to see that true success is actually found in the quiet corners of your mind. So let's jump into section 1, the rat race illusion, and why we need a fundamental shift in our mental model. See, we've all been taught that success is this cold, hard science. We're told it's about your IQ, mastering complex spreadsheets, and having perfect technical skills. You probably believe that if you just work harder, you'll win. We basically treat finance like it's physics, governed by these strict rules and clean little formulas. But then, you watch absolute geniuses fail, while literate janitors leave behind millions. The math adds up, but your life doesn't. Because you're looking for answers in data when you really need to look inward. You have to stop thinking like a physicist and start acting like a psychologist. Logic is just a tool, but your very human emotions, those are the real drivers here.
Which brings us right to section 2, behavior over brains. This is the very first principle of true success. Financial success is dictated by your actions, not your raw intelligence. Let me give you a perfect example. A genius who loses control of their emotions is a financial disaster, while ordinary people can build incredible wealth just by mastering a handful of behavioral skills. You do not need a Harvard degree for this. Take Ronald Reed. He was a janitor. He fixed cars, swept floors, and lived a very low-key life in a humble house. Yet when he died, he left $8 million to his community. How? He was incredibly patient. Meanwhile, you have highly educated men, like Harvard MBA executive Richard Fusconi, who went completely bankrupt because they were just far too greedy. It really shows that good behavior is so much harder to teach than math.
Moving on to section 3, time and risk calibration. Let's look at the invisible forces actually shaping your reality. So the second big principle here is time longevity. Compounding only works if you give your assets decades to grow. Get this, the vast majority of Warren Buffett's immense wealth was generated after his 65th birthday. Think about that. His secret isn't just that he's good at investing, it's that he stayed invested for decades. To get that kind of compounding, you basically have to learn to just shut up and wait. Linear thinking is the enemy here. We totally underestimate what's possible because our brains just prefer simple addition, but small, steady growth is the ultimate fuel for massive future growth. If you start with a small base, time will literally do the heavy lifting for you.
But we also have to calibrate for risk, which is our third principle. Look, every outcome in life is guided by forces completely outside your control. Luck and risk are basically siblings. Take Bill Gates. He happened to attend one of the only high schools in the entire world with a computer. That is a literal 1 in a million head start that changed human history. But his friend, Ken Evans, was just as skilled, just as ambitious. Tragically, Evans died in a mountaineering accident before he even graduated. The exact same force of 1,000,000 to 1 odds, just working in completely opposite directions. So you have to be really careful about who you praise or look down upon, and realize that not all success is strictly due to hard work.
All right, section 4, the moving goalpost. This is about winning the battle of social comparison.
This brings us to ego management. Honestly, the absolute hardest financial skill in the world is getting your internal goalpost to just stop moving. Social comparison is a battle you can literally never win. As the saying goes, happiness is simply your current results minus your rising expectations. Think about it. If your expectations rise right along with your results, there is zero logic in striving for more because you're going to feel the exact same tomorrow as you do today. You have to know when you have enough so you can protect what actually matters.
Consider the absolute tragedy of Rajat Gupta. Here is a guy who came from nothing to lead McKinsey. He was personally worth $100 million. But it wasn't enough. He wanted to be a billionaire. So he broke the law for money he literally did not even need. He risked his stellar reputation and his actual freedom for something totally unimportant to his survival. You have to flat out refuse to risk what you need for what you just want.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, buying back your time, the absolute highest dividend your money can pay.
Principle 5 is time sovereignty. Back in the 1950s, a lot of jobs were strictly physical. You clocked out of the factory and the job stayed there. But today, your job is thought-based. It follows you home. It's in your pocket, in your inbox, occupying your mind while you're just trying to eat dinner with your family. It feels like we're working 24 hours a day now. Because of this constant drain, using your money to buy back your time offers a massive, life-altering return on investment. Because really, controlling your time is the ultimate flex. The highest form of wealth is waking up in the morning and saying, I can do literally whatever I want today. True joy doesn't come from buying more stuff. It comes from unspent assets that give you options in the future. That flexibility is the most valuable currency in the modern world. Control over your own life is just a universal fuel for happiness.
And finally, Section 6, the invisible nature of wealth. We need to completely redefine what it means to be rich.
We spend our whole lives chasing these visible symbols of success, right? The expensive car, the massive, oversized house. We convince ourselves these things will bring us deep respect and admiration. But here is the ultimate man-in-the-car paradox. When you drive by in a Ferrari, nobody is looking at you. They're looking at the car, and they're just imagining themselves in the driver's seat. They are entirely ignoring your existence.
Being humble and kind will bring you so much more respect than a fancy car ever could. Because true wealth, it's actually invisible. Wealth is the sports car you didn't purchase. It's the diamonds you left at the store. It is the bank account you purposefully don't drain just to show off to people who are playing a totally different game than you. You have to learn to look past the flashy stuff.
So to survive all the sheer terror and unpredictability in the markets, and honestly in life, you've got to stick to these core behavioral rules. Save money just to save it. Build a hedge against a crazy world. Stop moving that goalpost. Aim to just be a reasonable human being instead of a perfectly rational spreadsheet. And above all, give yourself a margin of safety. You have to survive your inevitable mistakes long enough to let compounding finally work its magic.
Once you fully grasp that true success is found in the quiet corners of your mind and not on some complex financial statement, you're left with a choice. You aren't a cold equation. You are a person fully capable of mastering your own behavior. So ask yourself, are you finally ready to change your trajectory? Stop running someone else's exhausting, endless race and start playing your own game?